all the slides are available here at slideshare.net/Melissa Zavala. And you can grab those a couple of hours after the webinar. You should receive an email with the live webinar. So again, I struggle with the technology as far as I'm only as good as the technology is, and I rely on it. So I'm hoping that the video will be better so you can go back and look at the slides as well. If you absolutely can't stand it and it's too blurry for you, you will get the video. You can watch it later. I apologize for the inconvenience. Believe me, I'm just as frustrated as you are. But so we're going to get started. And for those just coming on and the quality is a little compromised for you, I'm really sorry. Do communicate with me, do ask me questions, and if you just can't stand the quality, then I will definitely get you the video in the next few hours. So today we are going to talk about enhanced productivity for real estate agents, some ways that real estate agents can streamline productivity and streamline your business activities and increase your productivity, which is something we're always striving to do, and it's always a struggle. And so as far as today's agenda, I'm going to talk about some simple strategies for increasing your productivity this season, some tactics for improving your day-to-day workflow, some time-tested systems to maintain your performance, and some helping you identify some ways to save time and balance your time working on your business and in your business. And I'm going to mention some tools and apps and products that I think are working well. And of course, I'm available to answer any questions that you have. So who am I? Well, you've already seen me as a person that's frustrated with technology on Google. And I do love technology, but this Google Hangout webinar jam thing, I guess, is not working very well today. My name is Melissa Zavala, and I'm a broker, author, and trainer. And you can read my blog, which has tips and tools for agents, at melissazavala.com, and my articles on The Real Daily. And I have a couple of products, a daily planner for real estate agents, and some other things on Amazon if you're curious about those. If you have any questions after the webinar ends, feel free to email me at info@melissazavala.com. I am in San Diego County, and I know I have a lot of people on the call that are San Diego-based agents, people that I may know from outside of here. Prior to my experience, prior to kind of like my venture into productivity, in addition to the brokerage, the first company that I owned was a short sale processing company, and when we're still around, we're called Short Sale Expert, and we've done over 1,500 short sales. But I found kind of this niche for myself, and I am going to be talking about niches, so it's kind of a good story. And my niche is that I'm really good at details and paperwork. I'm real good behind the scenes, and I'll talk about what that means for my business and building my business as a result of that. But the key is to really like play into your strengths and always work towards your strengths in your daily processes and your activities. And we're going to talk about that. And for me, I was able to play into that with the short sale processing of all things. I'm really good at getting crap done that nobody else likes to do. Paperwork, having patience with people on the telephone that frustrate you to no end, stuff like that. This is a weird little niche, but a lot of times people say, oh, if I have a problem, I'll ask Melissa to solve it. And of course, so that's kind of what I play into when I create stuff for real estate. So we're going to think about and explore today what you're good at, what your niche is, and how you can help that to streamline your daily activities and make more money. Hopefully I'll give you some actionable activities by the end of the webinar. So here's the problem though for all of us, is when we have a lot of transactions in the pipeline, and how many is a lot really depends upon what you as an individual can balance if you're working on your own or with a team and things like that. We get totally busy putting out fires in our transactions. So like one of the agents in my office right now, he's got 2 appraisals that didn't come in at the value that was negotiated. So he's got that problem. He's got a request for repairs on a property. All of a sudden he has a seller that doesn't want to pay the commission he agreed to pay contractually. So you could spend the whole day focusing on all of that drama. And then what happens is you're so busy putting out fires in your transactions that you're not putting new business in the pipeline, which is going to be a huge so I was talking about how we get so busy putting out these fires and these transactions and everything. And what it does is it really creates peaks and valleys in the business. And so as a result of that, you know, John, I always, when you're so busy solving the problems, you spend no time generating new business. And that's what creates, so you've got to create a really good productivity system and workflow for your business that doesn't, so if I hope we didn't get cut off when I was talking about that agent and all of his drama. And so now I'm wondering what's going to happen in 90 days or 12 weeks if he's not putting new stuff in every day, or every week, he's going to create those peaks and valleys in his business. So right now he's in a peak, he's going to close a bunch of stuff in the next few weeks, and then, oh no, I have nothing in my pipeline. So you've got to find a way to balance all of that. And so the key and the answer, and it's simple answer, but hard to put into practice, is to focus on daily processes rather than sales outcomes. So that's what I'm going to talk about for the bulk of the webinar. And hopefully we will have no further little communication glitches. So focus on daily processes rather than sales outcomes. I know there are tons of products out there and things that we write down our goals. We have to have this much money, and how we're going to make this much money each month and all of that. And I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying is that it's very good to set these mini goals, which are process goals. And those are the things that make the money come flowing and flowing and flowing in. So we're going to craft processes that save time and increase productivity. So for those of you that joined me on previous webinars, I show this screen a lot, this little slide. It's about working on your business and in your business, and then the example of that agent. So when he's solving all those problems with his commission problem, his repair problem, his appraisal problems, those problems are him working in his business, okay? So that's like when you're driving to the office, and I know it's happened to every single person on this call. You're driving to the office, you're focused, you're going to get there, you're going to make your sales calls, you're going to call these 10 people, you're going to follow up on these leads that you got last night on the internet, and all of a sudden the phone rings, and maybe an agent went to an inspection on one of your properties and there's a broken window all of a sudden, or the key's not in the lockbox, or all of that stuff. So when you have to deal with all that drama, you're working in your business. And the thing is, every day or every week, depending on the schedule you create yourself, you need to earmark time to work on your business. And that on your business part of this thing is you. This is you. You're the hamster, and you're running on this hamster wheel doing the same thing over and over, which is so funny because people have the impression that real estate professionals have the most exotic and wonderful career because they get to drive in their fancy car and go look at houses and eat a muffin and go to lunch, and oh, you get to see all these beautiful houses. But the truth is, there is so much working on your business that needs to happen. And if you spend that time just luxuriating in the fun stuff and not working on the business, then you really create those peaks and valleys. So the processes are the on your business part of your day or your week or your schedule. So that on your business versus in your business phrase comes from a book called The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. And he says success has less to do with what's done in a business and more to do with how it's done. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is your success has to do with how it's done, how you do the things that you do. That commodity isn't what's important, the way it's delivered is. So we're going to focus a lot on how you are going to do things to save yourself time, to increase, to increase your productivity and free up your schedule a little bit. So again, as I said before, it's those daily processes that lead to sale as outcomes. Or I always tell this story, as some of you are regulars, I recognize your names, you already know, Friday's my day. I take the whole day Friday. I basically lock myself at my house after I do my little exercise routine. And what I do is I work on my business. Now for me, I'm a broker. So what does a broker do? A broker recruits. I also have a couple other businesses. So I'm working on the promotion materials related to those business. I'm working on helping my agents improve their sales pipeline. So all the things that involve advertising, marketing, things that are going to build my leads for my different things that I'm doing, I do those on Friday. And that for me was born out of the fact that when my kids were little, they got out early on Friday, so it didn't make a lot of sense for me to drive to an office space. And of course, a lot of us work from home anyway now. But at the time, that was why I didn't do that. I stayed home. And then what I found is, God, what a great day. I'm not getting interrupted. I'm going to stay home. So now they're all grown up and I still stay home on Fridays. Plus, it's a great day to do laundry. So that works out pretty well for me as well. So some people are saying, am I coming back? So I just want to confirm that everybody can still hear me and see my screen, because I've got someone saying, are you coming back? So I'm going to talk about developing those processes for your business. So I'd love to hear if you can still hear me, you folks on the line. I know there is sometimes a little bit of delay. So, okay, it sounds like everybody can hear me. So the first thing that you need to do to develop, tell them to reconnect. I don't know if they can hear me. Awesome. Okay, so the first thing you need to do, all right, to develop good processes for yourself. Now, I can tell you everything that I do and what my processes are, and I can tell you what the successful agents that I'm working with do, but just because I tell you what somebody else does, it may not work for you. So the first thing that you need to do is figure out, what are my behavioral strengths? And so the easiest way to do that, now if you're a Keller Williams agent and you're on this call, you've probably done this before. If you happen to be someone that I've worked with before, you've probably done this before. You can go to this website, tonyrobbins.com/ue/discprofile.php. You should see it on my screen. Okay, that's on the Tony, or you can just Google Tony Robbins Disc Assessment. And you can take this behavioral strengths profile or analysis of yourself. And there are other strengths-based models out there. There's a book called Strengths Finder by Tom Rath, and then there's another book by Marcus Buckingham called Stand Out, and there's other ones as well. But the easiest one for you to access for free, and they don't even spam you or bother you after you get your results, is the one on the Tony Robbins website. So basically, the way the DISC profile model works, if you've never done it before, is it says that your whole self is divided into 4 behavioral strengths. Dominant or decisive, that's D. I is interactive or interpersonal. S is stability. And C is cautious. And here's something real interesting, is there was all this research done. In fact, if you're really interested in this, I would recommend that you go on the Inman and read some articles by Bernice Ross. Bernice is she's a real estate coach and a former psychologist, and she's a great friend of mine. And so she's done a lot of analysis of the behavioral strengths theory and how it applies in real estate. But what basically, according to some research that Bernice has done and that people have found, is that most of those mega, super duper, uber top producer people, or the ones that you read about, they have a very high D, that's decisive or dominant, and a very high I, interpersonal. So they say that 95% of those mega uber agents are high D and high I. Now, if you have a dream of, or if you are a mega Uber agent, or if you have a dream of being one of them and you are not high D and high I, that's okay. What we're going to talk about is different processes. You need to select the processes for you that work with your strengths. So for me, I am very high D and I am very high C, cautious. So what that means is that when I make a decision for a client, for somebody else, or for myself, I am very certain that it's the right one because I've approached it very cautiously. So a high interactive person or a high interpersonal person with low D and low C, they may be best suited to certain activities that are very interpersonal in nature. So that could be door knocking, making phone calls, calling your sphere of influence, just doing networking parties, networking events, going to lunch every day with different clients. That's a high interactive person. I'm very low in I, so for me, that would not be a natural fit as far as a process that I would use to build my business. So the first thing that you need to do to select your process is to go through this model and analyze yourself. A lot of times we think we know them ourselves, but this is, I mean, why not do it? It's kind of fun and interesting, and you can even, I had my kids do it too, and I thought the results were pretty interesting for my kids. I didn't really honestly know them as well as the test did. So that's very, very interesting. So you want to, when you're developing processes to increase your productivity, step 1 is identify your strengths. Step 2 is to write down what are the best uses of my time. What income activities, producing activities, are you best at? What are you good at? If door knocking brings results, that's an income activity that you're very good at. So what income producing activities are you best at? I probably do not like making phone calls. I do not like knocking on doors. I would feel very awkward about calling expireds. I have to make an extra effort to go to these regular networking activities. So I have to, but the best use of my time is when I sit down and create a presentation or do an e-newsletter, which I'll talk about in a little while. So what income activity producing activities are you best at? And you'll be surprised to see, or not, that those activities will probably line up to a degree with what your results were on your DISC profile. So you have to kind of spend some time analyzing yourself in order to move forward and enhance that productivity. And then number 3, after you've listed all the real estate activities that you're good at, now you need to think about the ones you do every day that can be done by someone else. And all of these, I'm telling you, unless you have a strong opinion otherwise, share it with me in the chat, can be done by somebody else. Delivering signs. You do not need to deliver the sign or put up the post, okay? It's not worth saving the $32, $35 or whatever. Delivering flyers, same thing. Meeting a home inspector, same thing. If you have a little team, maybe with a showing agent or if you're by yourself, you may have to meet with the home inspector. But if you've got a slightly bigger team and you can earmark that as somebody else's activity, that's 2 or 3 hours that you don't have to be sitting at a property. Scanning documents. How much time does it take to scan all of your documents, your paperwork, to put it in your file for your broker to review? Takes forever, and it can be done by just about anybody. So think about activities which are kind of what I'm calling them time wasters, because they're things that need to be done, but they can be done by a $7, $8, or $10 an hour person. Your time is best spent on the huge money-making activities that you are good at. So ask yourself, do I really have to do this, or can someone else do it for me? So my husband's a real estate agent, and he has a team, and one of the things that really helped him last year, so I know he kept it on, is that he has had our older son who lives locally to make some extra money. He told him if he meets the home inspector, if he opens the door for the termite inspector and the appraiser, puts up the sign and delivers the flyers, he'll pay him $300 for every closing. So it's a total of my son's time of like 2.5 hours probably to 3 hours, and he's making $300 for every closing on that, and it just frees other people up to do stuff that's not that's more productive. So what can you do? The other thing is to consider a virtual assistant. Can they do some social media posting for you? Can they prepare your mail merges for you? All of these things that are time wasters, they need to be outsourced. Don't be penny wise and pound foolish. You need to focus on the things that you're best at that are going to make you the most money. Oh, Teresa, yes, for those of you that, if you're missing out, or I apologize about the glitches, there will be a replay of the whole thing, including all the glitchy stuff, I'm sure, which will be available to you, and the slides are available at slideshare.net/Melissa Zavala. So sorry about that. So identifying support staff is the 4th thing, and that's what I was just talking about with virtual assistants. So am I doing things that I shouldn't be doing? And this is a classic one, but it only takes a few minutes. And I'm hugely guilty myself of this, of saying, oh, I'll just do it myself. And then how many things are you going to say, oh, I just do it myself? You've got to really delineate where your time is best used. So can preferred providers, sales reps, lenders, virtual assistants, as I mentioned, your kids, other teenagers help you with stuff. Sometimes they can do it better than you, and just put that off on somebody else. So like another thing that, if you're thinking, oh, I'm going to drive my client's check over to the settlement company, why not ask the title representative to do it for you? Or why not ask the sales representative from the settlement company to come by your office and pick it up? I mean, all of these things will save you time. Maybe support staff, and again, you've got to just be real smart with who you are hiring and what you're doing, and just think about ways to increase that efficiency with the support staff. So, and then the fifth thing you want to do is you want to create a process for everything. Okay, so you guys, can you see my screen this time? And hopefully we didn't lose too many people who are frustrated, but if not, they'll get the replay. Oh. Okay, so okay, so you've got to create a process for everything. Can you see my screen? So the way to create a process for everything is to make a list of regimented activities and write down the process for each activity. So and I'm going to give you an example in a minute if we don't get disconnected again. So note who is responsible for each activity in the process, and if there's a process for it, if you can write down a process for it, you don't need to do it yourself. And an easy way, like one of the things I like to do is I have a virtual assistant in the Philippines, and I don't give her really crazy stuff to do or anything, but if I want to teach her how to do something, the best way to teach her is to do a screen share. So I have a Mac, so I can do it with QuickTime. So I just say, I want you to just work on posting to this blog site. So then I do one, and I video my screen, and I do a walkthrough of how I do it. And you can do that with Screencaster or Screencast-O-Matic if you don't have a Mac. And so I do that, and then I just upload it into YouTube, and I email her the link, and she has instructions on how to do it. So you can do instructions for anything, and if you can create instructions for it, then you don't need to do it yourself. So you've got, obviously the things I'm telling you today are going to take you some time to implement. It's not like you can all of a sudden hire people to do stuff. It does take time to teach people to do things, but the time that you spend showing people how to do stuff for you, if they do it, I mean, it pays off tenfold later on, because then you don't have to do it yourself and you've given them good instructions. So some areas of your business that require processes. So listing management, and I'm going to show you a great listing management process in a second. Social media posting. You can have a process for that. Always pin these things to this pin board. Always post on Twitter at this time of day, stuff like that. Marketing to sphere of influence. Probably have a process for that. I'm going to send out this many emails. Over the course of the year, I'm going to send this many mailers. I'm going to send a Christmas present, all that stuff. Transaction file management. So how do you manage your files? I'm sure your office has a process for that. Email marketing. You probably have a process for that. If not, you can create one. Internet lead management. Daily prospecting, and expired and for sale by owner prospecting. So those are all areas of your business that you can make a process for and implement if you're interested in doing that. So sample listing process. So this is, to me, is like a fairly a good sample process. So if you get a call, you're going to list a property, or you're going to go to a listing appointment, and it's a condo somewhere about a few miles from your office. So what you're going to do is you're going to research the property. For us in California, I recommend that you order a preliminary title report and property profile first so you know what you're dealing with. If you see that there's a lot of liens on the title, you need to know if it's going to be a short sale or a regular sale. Make sure that there aren't, the property isn't compromised. Make sure that your appointment was with the right, with the owner, not someone that thinks they're the owner, or if the wife calls you and the husband's on title, you're going to have to make sure that the husband's at the appointment, stuff like that. You're going to create a comparative market analysis using maybe Cloud CMA or RPR or whatever product you use. You're going to generate your listing agreement and your other required documents. So you're going to do all that. That's a process. You do all that prior to every listing appointment. Then when you go to the listing appointment, you're going to bring your standard presentation, which is probably somewhat scripted, and you're going to probably have a hard copy. It's going to be on your iPad, and maybe you will have sent it previously via email. So this is all a process. And then after the listing appointment, you're going to have to do all of these things. Again, part of your process. Schedule the photographer. Do you need to do that yourself, or can you have someone else do that for you? Order the signpost up. Do you need to do it yourself, or can you have someone else do it for you? Prepare the listing as a draft for the MLS. Again, is that you or is that somebody else? To get the photos back from the photographer, upload them, order the flyer, order your just listed postcards, make your listing live. I prefer doing it on a Wednesday or a Thursday, so that's part of our office processes. Syndicate the listing on Fridays, post open houses to the syndication sites, and then do a weekend open house. So this is all a process. Same for every listing, with, you know, minimal changes depending on, you know, the special needs of the property or the client. But if you can make a process like this for every aspect of your business, then you can offload tons of your work to other people to free up your time to focus on what you do best. And then you've got to create a schedule. So you've got to create a schedule for those activities that you're going to do yourself that repeats each week, those working on your business activities. So, and you want your schedule to sync across all your devices. So first, I mean, I'm betting that most of you tech-savvy folks on the call, your calendar on your phone syncs with your computer. But I did teach a technology class a few months back where the first thing I said is raise your hand if your email and your calendar don't sync from your phone to your computer automatically, and about 40% of the people still had to set that up properly. So there may be one or two of you on the call. Go back, fix that now. It's going to save you a world of time later on. Use scheduling apps. And I don't know if you know this, if you haven't checked this out, location-based reminders, if you have an iPhone, are very, very cool. So if you go in the reminders section of your iPhone, and let's just say, for example, you're at your office and you've got something at home and you need to remember to put it in your car. And if you're like me, out of sight, out of mind. So I can actually set a reminder which says, like, when you get home, put the flyers in the car, put flyers in car. And I can mark it, it's called a location-based reminder. And so I mark that when I arrive at my house, that whatever time it is that I'm getting home, all of a sudden that will pop up. So it's not time-based, it's location-based. So then the iPhone will beep as I'm driving in my driveway, put the flyers in the car. So that's a very cool feature that works for all of us that have so many tasks going on that we may forget stuff. So use scheduling apps, use location-based reminders. And this is one that is kind of a pet peeve of mine, is only break your schedule in an emergency. An angry client is not an emergency. Remember that phrase that we used to see on on office walls and things? It says something like, an error on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine, or something like, or disorganization on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine. Just remember, an angry client is not an emergency. It could well turn into an emergency, but you don't have to always call everybody back right away. And sometimes there are strategic reasons that you don't want to call people back right away. You may find that if you wait several hours, they'll have solved their own problem. So if you can, try not to break your schedule when you're focusing on those things that are lead generating. That will be really, really beneficial to you. Okay. Kay, I'm not sure what app you're asking me about, but I was talking about the reminders on the iPhone, and there's just a location button on it when you set up a reminder. Okay, so the other thing that I've noticed is that a lot of times, so I run office meetings. I mean, I'm a broker, that's what I do, right? So it always makes me laugh a little bit, because sometimes people will say, well, I can't come to the office meeting because I've set up my listing appointment at that time. Well, the office meeting is at the same time every week. Is that the only time that your client could meet? I mean, could you have said, oh, I have an appointment, but I'll be there at 10 instead of 9? Or it's just like setting up the doctor's appointments. You can be strategic about that, but don't break your lead generation schedule or your productivity schedule for certain things. So if you plan to do your advertising or your prospecting phone calls from 9 to noon every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then you get a call for a listing, well, schedule your listing for 12:15. You don't need to do it between 9 and noon. You don't have to say, oh, I'm making calls from 9 to noon. You would say something like, I have an appointment that ends at noon. I can be there at 12:15. And so that's kind of about breaking the schedule. And don't go to sleep till all your tasks are completed. So sometimes that's hard, especially now we've got a little bit of a hangover from the time change, but it's really great to just really focus on completing your tasks every day in order to keep that momentum and fill that pipeline. And you should put up 4 major targets. Every day you should write down 4 major target tasks, no more than that. Otherwise, you're going to have a panic attack. Believe me, I've been there. Okay, everything needs to be on your calendar. So figure out what's the best system for you, paper-wise or phone-wise, as far as noting things, and stick to it. And then put your systems on autopilot. So that's what I'm going to talk about now. I've got some great systems on autopilot. I've mentioned them in a little bit of detail in previous webinars if you've joined me for those, but I'm going to talk about them more today. So thankfully with technology, when it works properly, we can put a lot of daily activities on autopilot. And then some activities do require minimal human intervention, but they're fairly automated. So we're going to talk about those, and those are the ones that are really, really great for your business. So drip campaigns are one thing that can be on autopilot. So by a drip campaign, there are 2 kinds of things that you can drip. You can create something called autoresponders. So if you're using a product such as MailChimp or Constant Contact or My Emma or Infusionsoft or Aweber, these are all different companies that have email setup campaigns in them for newsletters or emailing mass amounts of people. And in there's a section called autoresponders. So basically what autoresponders are, and you get them all the time, whether you realize it or not, is a whole bunch of pre-written emails, okay, that go out to a person on a list on a specific day. So if a person subscribes to the list on a Monday, they get their first email on Monday, they get their second email on Thursday, they get their third email on Sunday, and you can have as many. You could have 20 that go out. And then the same 20 emails, if a person subscribes on Tuesday, they would go out Tuesday and then 3 days later and so on. So you create this this autoresponder set, and it's a one-time work-intensive thing, and if you need help with that, you can go on Fiverr, you can hire a virtual assistant, you can hire someone to write those for you, and then they're going out. So when you have a new internet lead, for example, that you haven't engaged with after 5 days, you can put them on an autoresponder campaign, and they'll receive 20 emails from you, and you only have to set that up once. And then you don't have to, and then you can maybe put on your calendar after you figure out when the 20th one goes out. So that's already like 6 weeks out. Then you can follow up again. And then, of course, if they ever contact you in the middle, you have to turn off that campaign because now you've really cemented that relationship. So that's one way that you can use drip campaigns in an automated fashion. And then the next way, so you can add your new emails to the list. And then the next way is through e-newsletters. And that's one of my favorite things to do because I found a lot of success in that. Of course, over the years, more and more people have used them. I started using them in 2008 when not as many people were using them. So I've had to kind of up the quality of my content in order to engage more because everyone, me included, I get like 50 emails every morning before I wake up. So the one other thing that I added, so if you have a blog and your blog is, and you put up a blog post every week, then you can create what's called an RSS drip campaign. So what that is using some of those products I mentioned, like MailChimp, Infusionsoft, Constant Contact. What you do is you just set up the system, and it's very easy to do, so that every time there's a new blog on your website, all the people on your mailing list receive it that day. So if you put up one blog a week on Wednesdays, then every Wednesday or every Thursday, all of the people on your maybe prospective buyers and sellers that you haven't connected with yet, or people in your sphere of influence, whatever you want, they're all going to automatically get that. So that's an autopilot system. You just add people to the list, and you can even use products like Zapier or IFTTT to add people to the list. Those are those are automated systems for creating like workflows. And as a result of that, then they'll get those emails. So that's another a system you can have on autopilot. Make sense? Okay, and that we talked about that. So then property alerts are a second thing that you should have on autopilot. All of us can do that in our MLS, and we have other systems and ways to do that as well. So the MLS, you can set it up so that, you know, every time a property that meets a buyer's specifications is emailed to them, and then you get a copy of the email and you can follow up. And certain MLSs, probably most of them, they even have a website where they can comment, they can mark their favorites, things like that. So you can set up, you know, have your people opt in for automated alerts. At our office, we use Commissions Inc. in addition to the MLS, which is really good for getting the automated property alerts, for mass text messaging, prospective buyers and sellers. And what we like about it is the analytics. So you can see who's closest to the money based on their interaction with the site. So, and all of that comes through those automated property alerts. Then they click on them, and then they're back in the site looking at properties, marking their favorites and things like that. So you can manually add buyer prospects to your MLS automated property alerts, or if you're using a more robust product such as Follow Up Boss or one of these automated property alert systems, Commissions Inc., Zerpal, Tiger Leads, things like that, there you have it. And then so automated daily or weekly alerts as properties come on the market, obviously that's an automated thing. And so then you've got your inbound marketing campaigns. So you're going to create plans and pathways for different inbound marketing campaigns. And we talked about using automated responses when applicable and deliver immediately. So that would be like when you go on, you might want to make an ad on Facebook that offers a free home valuation. So that would be the content, and then what would happen is they would log in somewhere, press prospect, right, and then they would get a report with their home valuation. You would get the lead, but the report would be delivered immediately, and then you could follow up with autoresponders. A lot of times people offer, and I'm sure you see this, they're in my Facebook newsfeed all the time, is like a free ebook about something. So I download the free ebook, and then I'm sucked into this pipeline of emails that goes on forever and ever. But the point being is to observe. In fact, if you're not getting some of those, you might want to look in your Facebook feed today and just sign up for a few, knowing you can unsubscribe anytime, just to like watch as an observer the process that they're using to try and get you to buy their product, so that you can kind of simulate it in some of the things, automated processes that you're going to create. And then social media posting is another thing that can be automated. So I love scheduling posts in advance. I do believe it's important to have natural content. So if you see something about Donald Trump that you want to talk about right at that moment, then you should, of course, avoiding being too provocative, because you don't want to alienate any prospective buyers and sellers. But at the same time, it's often hard to be in all places all the time. So we definitely want to do some pre-scheduled social media posting just in case something happens in your life and you can't get back to the computer. So you can use products such as Hootsuite or Buffer. There's one called Meet Edgar. There's tons of them that you can use to schedule posts in advance across LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Google+, all of that. So, and then remember, you don't have to do all the posting yourself. I believe that your interaction is crucial to your business, and you showing some of your personal self, your true self, is vital. But you can outsource a minimal amount of posting to somebody just to get the engagement. You know, So for our VA, like one of the instructions she has is, you know, people love celebrities' homes for sale. So she's posting at least one a week, celebrity home for sale. When the Kardashians' homes for sale, people are engaging on that. So I can do the posting about something personal to me, a photo, something going on at the office or whatever, but she can also add to that with those other posts. And then of course, to be productive with your time, do not get lost in Facebook. And you can use some of those, meaning like you can spend hours on that thing, and I know you know that already, and use posting platforms such as the ones I mentioned, Hootsuite, Buffer, Meet Edgar. There are tons of them out there. City Blast is another one. Track your results. No matter what you're doing, I think it's really important, because we talked about analyzing your behavioral strengths. It's also important about seeing, you know, where you're having the most significant results. And I've mentioned this in previous webinars, but it is so, so important. Only 45% of marketing CEOs actually know their results. So you want to be in that other 55%. You want to make sure that if you are dedicating hours and hours of your time to door knocking, expired campaigns, or whatever you are doing, you want to make sure that that's the thing that's bringing in the money. Otherwise, why bother, right? So for results on drip campaigns, I've showed this slide before also, you can get something like this for every drip campaign. How many people clicked? How many people read it? You can even see who clicked. So if you see people that are always clicking and looking at stuff, then those are the people that you should be reaching out to personally. And the same with Google Analytics. You can see on your website which articles are getting the most engagement, and you should be writing more articles like that. Those are the things that you should be doing to analyze your results and to then reach out to the people that are interacting with you the most and engage them more because they're close to the money, or maybe they're going to refer you to somebody that's very close to the money. So there are a lot of tools that can help you succeed, and I've mentioned a number of them, but to have a good CRM is crucial, and there are many, many good CRMs out there. And I heard an interesting quote, comment the other day, and I think it's true. I know it's true for me. And I'm always looking for the best CRM. And what somebody I heard say is, you never know which is the best one when you're using it. It's just when you go away from it and you say, oh, I should have been using that one instead. One that I'm kind of using a mix of things right now. I really like Streak, which you can use for free if you use Gmail. It's an add-on for Gmail because it helps me with pipeline management. So you can see like who your leads are, who your prospects are, who's in, you can set it up, and they've even got a real estate setup already in there, like an overlay. And what it does is it pulls in your emails into your different, you have a box for each of your leads. And so then it will pull in all the emails and documents from all of that are related to that person into the box. So I think it works well. It's not a whole bells and whistles thing. I mean, it's not in a way, it's not a contract to close thing in that you can upload documents and make flyers in it. You know, I like contactually, if you need help keeping in touch with people you already know, I think that's a real good one. Top Producer is a great whole bells and whistles one. There are tons and tons of CRM, so you need to find the one that's good for you. And then great calendar apps. And of course, if you're using Google stuff, you might want to stick with Google stuff. Sunrise is a great calendar app. And the other thing that's really important is to have a good paperless workspace and good file hosting. So like if you're using Dropbox, I think that's great because then you can get it on your iPad, you can get it on your phone. If you're using Evernote, same thing, you can get it on your computer. And I've already told you that drip campaigns will do a great deal to enhance your productivity with market reports and autoresponders, and add-ons and extensions to some of these products. Really, like I mentioned, Streak is an add-on for Gmail. There's also something else called Boomerang, which is really, really great. What's really cool about Boomerang is it gets it out of your inbox, and it says, like, let's just say you get an email from someone, but you know you don't need to respond to them until Friday, but it's today, Wednesday. and you think you're going to forget. So you can boomerang it back to you, so it'll remind you on Friday at a certain time of day, okay, it's time to follow up on this email. So it'll pull it out of your inbox and bring it back to you. So stuff like that's cool for enhancing your productivity and allowing you to not forget things. We have so many things we're juggling. It's really, really hard sometimes. So you've got to always keep an eye on these processes and make sure that you're adhering to them, that you're creating good ones, that if you can outsource stuff, that you're creating a good little training program for the person you're outsourcing it to, so that they're doing it just as well as you could do it. Tim Ferriss's book, which is, what is it, the 5-Hour Work Week, the 4-Hour Work Week, that has a lot of tips about how to offload a lot of stuff on other people. I certainly cannot get my work week down anywhere near 4 hours, or even 14 or 34, but I think there are a lot of really, really good tips there. And you've got to remember that, unfortunately or fortunately, with real estate, you cannot stop. If you halt, then your income will be impacted in 12 weeks. Not today, because you're still going to close your deals that you've got in the pipeline, but your 12 weeks later, you will see what happened, the results. So if you're not doing a lot of business now, that's because 12 weeks ago you were not filling your pipeline. So you've got to develop good processes, good productivity, good efficiency systems, so that it'll be easy, and you'll see in 12 weeks, continuing income. And again, that was my pet peeve about not being a Pop-Tart, not running to every appointment, not scheduling everything. If you've got time earmarked to do things that are going to build your business, do not fluctuate from that. And if you've read Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents, they talk a lot about this in that book. You've got to get up early. Easier said than done for some of us. You've got to have a plan. You've got to set daily targets. So I said 4 targets. You got to keep a journal, or you need to have a book or something with you. A little Moleskine makes these really cute little things that you can fit them in your dress shirt pocket. They're like a tiny little booklet, where you can make notes. You've got to keep something to keep all your notes in one place, instead of just jotting things down on envelopes and things. And of course, a lot of taking the control of the day has to do with more than just what we're doing in real estate. So statistics show that people that exercise, do yoga, take time to enjoy the precious moments, do take better control of the day. So the best way to take control of the day is to get up early, have a nice glass of water right away, sit and pull yourself together. And of course, Miracle Morning talks about reading and doing affirmations. And so if that's part of what motivates you and instills that in you, then you'll want to check out that book and go for it. But you've got to take control of your day. The minute you start getting the phone calls and running to put out a fire and running to do that, and oh my gosh, and oh my God, I've got to get to escrow, the day took control of you, and that's no good. So you've got to set your expectations with your clients and your staff accordingly. So the minute a client calls you and says, hey, run here, or one of the agents in my office told me, oh, if this man calls me, he always tells me I'm on my way now. And if I tell him, this is what the agent said, if I tell him I'm not at the office, he gets angry. Well, that's an example of not setting client expectations accordingly. Doctor, you can't just show up at a doctor's office and expect to get service. You've got to have an appointment. Same with an attorney, same with you. So simple things to remember as we wrap up. The goal is to be deliberate and systematized. Every client or prospect needs to have the same experience with you, whether it's a multi-million-dollar deal or a $100,000 deal, because you never know where your next lead is going to come from. And in order to have the same experience, you've got to have the same systems, and you've got to stick with it over and over and over. So focusing on what you do best. So I talked a little bit about that. So figuring out what is your strength, and then creating processes for your productivity that play to your strengths. So you really need to analyze, what am I good at, and how am I going to use my time doing those things to build my business, and what apps and tools can I use to facilitate my own systems. So some fires put themselves out. Remember I said that, so don't call everybody back right away all the time. Stick to the schedule unless it's an emergency. And then use regular and systemized drip campaigns, schedule social media posting in advance for the week, and select a CRM that does the work for you. And I do think if you haven't checked out Contactually and you're looking at something to help stay in front of people from your Facebook and your sphere of influence, people that you know, Contactually can really help you with that. And then other CRMs like the ones that are built into some of those pay-per-click things like Commissions Inc. and Zerple and Conversion. Those ones do the work for you too by sending out those automated marketing, you know, property alerts and things like that. So there are a lot of products out there that will do the work for you if you set them up properly. And so remember, your productivity plan, you need to create a system for everything. You need to put as many activities on autopilot as possible. You need to focus on your processes rather than your numeric outcomes. And you need to outsource annoying tasks and time wasters. Live by your schedule. You need to know your value. So for me, my value remember I said I'm high D, high C. Know your value, know what you're good at, and work on that. And control the day, and don't let the day control you. So it's all about having really good systems. So when you get off the phone today or the call today, thankfully we didn't get disconnected one last time. But when you get off the call today, sit back and say, do I have good systems? What one thing can I create a system for that I don't have a system for? And maybe that can be the one thing you can do in the next week or so, is create a system for something that you don't have a system for. So maybe if you always dreamt of doing expireds, what system can you have for that? Well, I'll call, and then I'll send out this mailing, and then I'll follow up with a door knock, whatever the system is. And can I incorporate other people into my system so I don't have to do the whole thing myself? And the streamline the activities to avoid peaks and valleys in your business. And hopefully you will have great success. So I will stay on the phone and on the call and answer a few questions. Again, for those of you that came on late, that we got disconnected, there will be a replay. The replay video will be emailed to you, I believe, in a few hours automatically, and then it will be posted to my YouTube channel as well. You can grab the slides from slideshare.net/Melissa Zavala. And if you need to email me, again, I'm really apologize. I'm going to be getting on the phone with Webinar Jam, the webinar company, to figure out why the heck we got disconnected. But hopefully the video will have the whole thing, and you'll get to see the whole thing, and the bits and pieces that you missed, you can get the answers there. So thanks again. Okay, so I'm going to go through some questions now for those of you that are done and fed up. I apologize, but thanks for hanging out till the end. Let's see what we've got going on with the questions here. Okay. Okay, some of the CRMs that I mentioned, the one I mentioned is Streak, S-T-R-E-A-K, Top Producer. I don't think I mentioned Wise Agent, Contactually, which is C-O-N-T-A-C-T-U-A-L-L-Y. There are tons of really great CRMs out there that will help you if you're. Again, I think that was a great story about how this person said, you don't really know, you're always kind of wondering what's the best CRM. So it's just kind of, you need to know yourself and what's going to work for you and find a system that works for you. And for me, the Streak thing is working right now, but I know it doesn't work for everybody. But what was troubling for me was that the CRM was not connected to email. So you wouldn't be checking. So if I'm checking my email in Gmail, then I have to add someone to the CRM, I might forget about it. That was a two-step process that wasn't congealing for me. And do I know of step-by-step instructions for Streak? I don't, but I think I did a video on, I think I did like a little demo on Streak in one of our blogs. You may want to go to melissazavala.com, type in like melissazavala.com/Streak and see if you can find a little video demo that I did on that. But what I was going to say about, setting that stuff up is it does take a lot of time, but what I've realized is it's time well spent. If you have a good employee or a good assistant and you spent that time training her or him, then you can totally trust them with everything. It pays off 20-fold moving forward. So getting organized isn't always fun, but the payoff, it can be a huge win in the end. So that, I think, answers the question about CRMs. And again, MailChimp, a question about email. MailChimp, Constant Contact, My Emma, Infusionsoft, really depends how much you want to spend. Some of the MailChimp, for example, is free up to 2,000 people on your mailing list. So it's a great place to start and see if you're comfortable, if it's working for you before you have to make a big investment. And for anyone, if you're not in that Lab Coat Agents Facebook group or the Agent Mastermind Facebook group, which are both available to agents, you might want to go on there, because people talk about different products that are working with them. And it's a great place to kind of brainstorm with other agents that are as motivated as you are. So if you're not in any of those Facebook groups, they're a great place to hang out if you are going to be spending time on Facebook. So I'm going to wrap it up now. And thanks again to everyone for tolerating the technical glitches. And I look forward to a smoother webinar next time. Take care. Bye-bye.